Hey guys, this is Kasim from Game Previews, and today we got a Pokemon Go beta tester Q&A courtesy of the Sylph Road subreddit. So a special shout out to a Reddit user by the name of Dronts who has put this together. He's done so much good work for the Pokemon Go community in terms of compiling information for us to look at. So shout out to him for this Q&A. And let's just get started. Okay, so question number 1. Do Pokemon who evolve in later generations have evolution shards in Pokemon Go? So a Pokemon like Onix, who turns into Steelix in later generations, or Pokemon like Lickitung or Chansey, basically, do they have shards in Pokemon Go? And the user reported that no, none of those Pokemon have evolution shards once they are at their final evolution in terms of Gen 1. So it doesn't look like generations other than Gen 1 are planned so far, at least. But that could still change in the future. So that's question number 1. Let's go on to the next one. So can you change your appearance or even gender after the first time you boot the game? And it was answered as, at this time, you're stuck with the avatar you designed at the beginning. So the next question here is there a speed limit for egg hatching in the game? And it appears that there is actually going to be a speed limit just like in Ingress. So if you guys don't know, egg hatching in Pokemon Go requires you to take about 1,000 steps. And I guess you can't really speed that up in any way via bike riding or going through a car, so there is going to be a speed limit, and once you do go past that speed limit, the Pokemon Go will just simply not count those steps or count that distance. So the next question is, how many different types of Pokeball throws can you perform? Is it only straight shot and spin shot? So the person answered, you can throw a ball straight, but that can be harder than it sounds if the Pokemon is far away. So for some reason in this game, certain Pokemon are actually spawned closer to you, making the throwing easier, and some Pokemon are spawned further away from you and making it harder to actually hit the Pokemon when you throw it. So it is actually pretty hard just throwing it and flicking the Pokeball to the Pokemon to try and catch it. So then there's a curveball where you can throw it by shaking the ball around a bit on the screen before you toss it left or right. And then when you toss it left or right, it sort of just curves and hits center when it tries to hit the Pokemon if you do it right. It also seems that when you turn on camera mode, the Pokemon actually moves around based on where your camera is angled. But when you turn it off, the Pokemon stays stationary. So when you do turn the camera on, you have an option just to flick the Pokeball either left or right, depending on where the Pokemon is. Alright, so the next question is, can Pokemon deflect balls? And do different Pokemon behave/move differently when being captured? So the Pokemon can actually deflect balls. They occasionally will do an attack animation at random intervals, and if you guys look back at that SXSW presentation, we saw that Bulbasaur doing an attack animation, so that is definitely something that's in this game. If they're doing that attack animation and you throw the ball, then it will just bounce off of them. And then also, they can also just jump up at random times, so if you throw the ball and they jump up, you actually have a chance to miss them. But at the same time, if you have like a bad throw or just like going off the screen but they jump into it, you also have a chance to catch them. So they don't react specifically to the ball catches, but at random intervals they will do an animation. So the next question is, have you found any character customization either at Pokestops or through leveling? And short and sweet answer here is that no, neither of them have that in the beta. So the next question is, what's the egg/Pokeball ratio in Pokestops? Did the eggs hatch into Pokemon that you've never seen before, or ones more common around your area? So eggs have apparently a 20 to 25% chance of dropping if you don't currently have one on you. Now this beta tester said that at most he's only had 2, and whenever he's had 2, basically he's never seen any eggs at Pokestops. So there might be a limit on how many eggs you can actually catch. But he says that yeah, there are no rare Pokemon inside these eggs as far as he knows. But they are actually stronger than their wild counterparts. So if you catch a Rattata in the wild and then you catch one, then you hatch one through the egg, the one in the egg will actually be more stronger. Okay, so the next question is, if you catch a Pokemon at trainer level 1 and then you catch that same Pokemon at a later trainer level, will it cause a direct increase in CP on the one that you caught when you were a higher level? So the leaker here says that there is no doubt that if you are a higher trainer level, then the CP of the same Pokemon species will definitely have a higher CP. And then he says something interesting when he says, there is what I assume to be a progress bar over the CP amount on Pokemon, which I've noticed can be at different levels for the same Pokemon at roughly the same CP. So he really is confused about this because they're the same species of Pokemon with roughly the same CP, but that progress bar that hovers over them seems to be at a different level. So it might not be directly related to CP, but maybe something else. But we still don't have any idea what that could mean. Again, they haven't implemented any battling, so we probably have to wait for that as well. And then this other question here, which is really cool and interesting, is do different Pokemon of the same kind have different moves? And he says yes, two Pokemon of the same breed can have two different moves from one another, except for Magikarp. Apparently all he knows is Splash and Struggle. Okay, so moving on to the next question. The question was, are there any differences in water for Pokemon between seas, lakes, and rivers? And apparently there is no difference. If you live near water, you're probably going to see the same Pokemon, whether it's a pond, a lake, or river, or ocean, or whatever. As long as it's water, you're going to see pretty much the same species of Pokemon there. So the next question is, how consistent were the Pokemon in a given area? So like if you found a Spearow in one spot one day, did you find the Spearow there at a later date, or even just a little later? And it appears to be that it's just randomly generated. So if you found one there on one day, it might be a completely different Pokemon the next day. Okay, so the next question here is, has the time of day affected the availability of certain Pokemon? And he says the time doesn't affect spawns at the moment. The map does, however, change around at 6:30 to 7 p.m. to show a night sky. So I wouldn't be surprised if something is implemented in the final project. So for right now, you're not going to go outside at nighttime and encounter a bunch of Ghastlies and Haunters and stuff. But it could be implemented where dark Pokemon show up more at nighttime versus during the day. But for now, no, that's not the case. The next question here was, does weather affect Pokemon that appear? And it appears to be that nope, the weather has no noticeable difference in spawns based on the weather. Alright guys, so the next question here is, will you be able to play the game efficiently on a 2G network? And he says that if you're walking around, you should be okay, maybe. It might take a relatively long time for the area to populate with all the information. And he says that after you go through a battle or any time, I'm assuming the battle means catching. So after each catch, and anytime you go through your bag, the game reloads the area around you when you come back to the map. So he's already said that it takes a long time for it to show all the information. So yeah, you probably want to avoid that 2G network as much as possible, but it's still playable. So then, staying on the topic of mobile data, the question was, how much did Pokemon Go suck in terms of data usage? And he says that since I've started playing for no less than 1 hour a day, some days I played up to 6 to 8 hours. As of yesterday, I've only had 304 megabytes used over a few weeks, so that's actually really good. So then the question was, how does Eevee evolve? And he says Eevee has been actually really difficult to catch, and he says that it takes 30 captures to make a stone. I'm assuming it basically means it takes 30 captures to make it evolve into its next evolution. And he says, I've only just caught my second one today. If I hit 30 of them, I'll let you guys know how it all goes. So then he says, I'm surprised that Eevee is so rare. I was under the impression that most Pokemon were populating the map. Quite a few Pokemon have been harder to find than others. Pikachu, all 3 starting Pokemon, and a number of others. I might find them, but a lot of Pokemon I've only encountered once, maybe twice. I'll be honest with you, I think they might be messing around with the spawn rates. On my 10-minute walk home from work, I found a Farfetch'd, a Golduck, and a Lapras all in a short amount of time, all new entries into my Pokedex. Not to mention my second Eevee since I sent you that message. So yeah, the spawning seems to be a little crazy here. It seems to be pretty hard to find duplicates of the Pokemon, but hopefully they do try to fix that. That's the reason they have this beta, to sort of fix out these game-breaking issues. Obviously you need multiple Pokemon to evolve them, and it might get a little annoying if you want to evolve a Pokemon, but it's really hard to find. So I guess they're just going to try to test out what works and what doesn't, and hopefully they do fix that issue. So yeah guys, that was most of it. There are a few questions I skipped over just simply because they weren't as interesting, and they really didn't put anything into the entire discussion here that we had. But if you guys do want to see the couple that I did not go over, I'll have the link in the description of Dromp's Reddit post that he made, and hopefully you guys check that out after this. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys are into Pokemon Go news and gaming news in general, then please consider liking this video, and please consider subscribing if you're new. And if you guys have been subscribed for a while, watch out for a giveaway in the near future. I'm hoping for that 1,000 sub mark, and then hopefully I do a giveaway. But either way, thanks everyone for supporting my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright guys, thanks. Bye.